talk about pressuring the president. How about sending him a 4-page memo directly to the United States President Donald Trump? Luis Elizondo warns of a big event coming and sends direct memo to the president. This is nuts. Elizondo has publicly urged President Donald Trump to appoint a dedicated UAP advisor to coordinate efforts on UAPs and related emerging technologies, warning that ignoring the issue could pose serious national security risks. In a memo he wrote directly to the president, he said the advisor should centralize fragmented reporting and help address the stigma around UAPs, which he argues is eroding public trust, and noted that several members of Congress privately shared their own UAP concerns. He cautioned that failing to take the phenomenon seriously might leave the U.S. vulnerable to scenarios where rival nations reverse engineer advanced capabilities, potentially with consequences as severe as major historical security events, comparing it, Suzanne, to something even so much as 9/11.
Exactly.
Which, whew, man, you want to perk some ears?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The repercussions of failing to handle this could be larger than the impact of 9/11.
Yeah.
An interesting way to put that. But you know what it reminds me of, Ryan? Do you remember the first year that I went to Seoul and I came back and reported that commercial pilots were still being asked by the FAA and other entities around all that to report their sightings to MUFON? You remember that? I think all of that is kind of where they're headed. This is just not a workable scenario anymore. They're over our nuke sites. They're in our flight paths. They're over our cities, and not just in America, all over Europe and Australia. They're everywhere, and we're just gonna report to MUFON. What are we doing?
No, we're not like casting shade at MUFON. They're incredible civilian organization.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's not their responsibility.
But right, like you should not be having an F-18 fighter pilot who came into close contact with a UFO, reporting it to some rando in his basement in Idaho, like that's not how this should be working.
American Airlines, no, let's get a system before we have a calamity.
Exactly. Well, Elizondo is again sort of stepping out again. He was a big part of the Ages Disclosure. He was basically our narrator through the entire documentary. But he went on News Nation as well and spoke to Ross Coulthart. So I'm going to play that clip, and it goes a little bit more into the memo that he sent to President Donald Trump. And if Elizondo believes Trump even read the memo, if Trump knows anything about a pending disclosure of some sort, there have been murmurs that Trump is going to disclose something coming up soon. So I don't know. But
I don't either. I remember Tim Gallaudet at Seoul said he did not think Trump would disclose. So we've got two well-respected people on either side of that opinion. So who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? That is the question. Let's see.
I think we got to also keep in mind the possibility that we're watching a gentle pressure campaign as we watch this video as well.
I love that. I'm going to look at it with new eyes, fresh eyes now. I love it. Let's watch the clip.
Okay.
That your memo went to senior people in the Trump administration. We don't know whether Donald Trump has actually actioned it or done anything with it or even read it. But what worries me is the conspicuous lack of action on any of the issues that you raise in that memo. I don't see any action on drones, and I don't see any action from this administration on UAPs. Are you getting any indications from anyone within the administration to suggest that they are taking the UAP issue seriously?
Yes, I am. And the drone issue. In fact, there's pockets within the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and pockets within the Director of National Intelligence that are taking this topic seriously. I think their approach is very measured. I think they're doing their due diligence. They're asking the right questions, are going about this the right way. Now, the question is, do they have enough people? Well, that I can't tell you. I don't know. And I think, only time will tell. But I do see that there are pockets of expertise and excellence that is being applied to this topic. I think what some people may confuse is the lack of transparency or necessarily discussion openly about what they're doing. And so I think that creates some frustration internally with some people. But I'm very confident and very relieved that at least certain individuals whom I know are working on this topic are indeed taking it very seriously and basically pulling the thread to see where it leads. Now, at the end of the day, time will tell what those results will be. But no, I'm very grateful and heartened to see some of the efforts that I see behind closed doors. I'm not going to say right now who specifically is involved. I think we need to give these individuals latitude and ability to maneuver. It is a tough problem. It is a tough problem. We haven't solved it yet, and we're still trying to figure it out. And it's not going to be solved overnight. I do think one of the ways to help find resolution to this problem sooner rather than later is to establish a primary individual that is responsible for this. This is what they get paid to do, right? So if they drop the ball, now it's on their hands, on their shoulders.
Okay, so this is where I get concerned, because if the president or people senior in his administration, we know they've received this memo, they haven't acted on it. Nothing's happened. The president,
we don't know that, do we?
President's made no announcement on UAP.
We're presuming nothing's been done, but again, I want to be very careful. I hate to assume certain things. You know what assuming does, right? So I'll use the word presume. Just because the administration doesn't say anything doesn't mean that they're not taking it seriously. And I know people are very eager to try to get to the bottom of what's going on. But this is a problem we've been dealing with, quite frankly, for many, many, many decades, Ross. And it's going to take time. And we have, as a people, we have to have a little bit of patience with our government to try to figure this way out. Now, the problem here is, we can give people time to figure it out, but it only takes one 9/11 event, right, to turn the whole world upside down. And so time isn't really on our side. I think we have to have some patience and give the administration some time. But I don't think we have a whole lot of time. I think we really have to do a much better job of trying to figure out what's going on. And it's a tough nut to crack. It's a tough problem. I certainly wouldn't want to be the one in the administration tapped on the shoulders to figure this out. I mean, this requires a pretty big team, and you'd have to have help from all other 16 members of the intelligence community, the defense communities, and the civilian communities. I mean, this is a big problem.
Can I ask you this? Do you think the Trump administration, Donald Trump, is thinking about disclosure?
Well, I hear what you hear and everybody else, that he's contemplating it, that he's been told about it. But I also want to be realistic here. Yes, there's a tremendous opportunity here for our president to be the first sitting president to say, yes, this is real and this is a problem. But there's also a tremendous amount of risk. Because if it turns out that there is some sort of foreign adversarial involvement behind this, there's some sort of new type of stealth reconnaissance capability, let's say that country X developed or something like that, and we go out on a limb and say that these things are all because of this, and it turns out they're actually because of that, then that's a risk as well, and that can actually be used to discredit you and to hurt your efforts. So the president, all presidents, have to be, and this is why they have so many advisors, they have to weigh the pros and cons of what they say publicly. Now, this particular president, I think most people can agree, whether you agree with his politics or not, he is not afraid to say what he feels. And so from that perspective, I think it's very refreshing. I think all presidents should say how they feel. The question is, what does he actually feel about this topic? Sometimes when he's been asked in the past, he has said, I personally don't believe it. I don't think there's much to see there. And other times he's turned around and said, actually, you know what? I've received some briefings. Pretty interesting. We should take it seriously. But again, that's a question you would need to ask to the president himself. I certainly would not want to be in any type of position to presume what our president, Donald Trump, knows about this topic.
Ooh, okay. A lot to break down there. I do agree, like whether you politically agree with Donald Trump or not, if there is going to be a disclosure president of any kind, it's very possible that he could be the one. And we need to feed off of that ego that this narcissist president has, in so many ways. I don't want to get political here, but we have to. This is a political
Well, and
story. This
yeah,
man
I think
loves
it's
hearing
based on
his
the
own voice.
personality, right? It's just part of the personality. And
Totally.
it'd be this is the kind of personality who would be likely to actually take a risk like this and do it. So I remain hopeful. I don't know that it will actually happen, of course, but I remain hopeful.
Yeah. I I like this idea of a pressure cooker. I think you described it perfectly, and it never even dawned on me. I'm like, a lot of our stories this week have a lot in common. Age of Disclosure comes out. It was
Yeah.
sent to the president. You got Elizondo out here sending memos to Trump. You've got who else did we just talk about?
Tim Gallagher.
Grush. Good
Yeah.
lord, Tim Galladay, Grush. They're all going after the president. So I don't know. I don't
Exactly.
know. This is
That's why
crazy.
I think we're watching a general pressure campaign, which I think is actually brilliant if that's what's happening. I think
For
that
sure.
applying this and giving it audience to friendly ears is a great idea. No, no, I don't
Yeah.
see a downside. It may not work, but I don't see a downside.
Exactly. Yep. What is it Wayne Gretzky says? Like you only make um the percentage of goals that you shoot in
That's right.
hockey. I am butchering that quote, but yeah, like
Yeah,
take the shot. Take the shot. The worst that's gonna happen is you
exactly.
don't make it. Alan, we put this up on the screen earlier, makes a good point. If the president did get involved, pardon the whistleblowers for all prosecution. Like this is a president who has pardoned a lot of people for
Right.
things that they have done. Could this be the president who pardons whistleblowers in this
It
topic if he
should
thinks it's going to make him the disclosure president? Who
do that
knows?
and then release everybody from these NDAs. Turn how put
Yeah,
off silence off. Turn those big key people who cannot speak contractually, turn them loose.
yeah. Turn them loose. I love that. Donnie Falls says, "Is it possible that there's an agreement between nations not to be the first? That it must be mutual disclosure?" Oh man, good question. I think like was it might have been Grush who said we are in a race for a technological cold war right now. So I don't think it would be a mutual thing. I think whoever's first is going to be the nation that discloses or might be the
Rules the
nation who
world if they've controlled the tech. If
that's
they
what yep,
unwrapped the tech, then it's gonna be like the atom bomb for us, back in the day, and we ruled the world with it up until now. So,
exactly.
it's a big deal.
It is. Yep. Say what you want about weaponized Corbell. I know people have a lot of thoughts, but he's been
Right.
saying it for years. Like the first to crack the code on this tech, game over.